Welcome, podcast listeners and viewers, and thank you for joining us on the LightWave Digest podcast, Christmas 2023 special. We will go directly into the interview. The hosts for tonight are Cageman, Andrew, and Sorn. Enjoy. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this very special Christmas episode with LightWave Digest. And as you can see, we have a familiar face returning. That is Deuce Bennett. Well, as you know, he has been working very close to making LightWave 2023 a reality. So please, huge applause for Deuce Bennett. Now, I know that this has been a long time coming for you guys, and I mean, everyone. I know every Lightwave user wanted to have a future for Lightwave, and during the times there were a lot of disbelief in that actually happening, and now it has happened. So please, can you just talk about the feelings right now you have for you know that this actually is a reality right now?
Well, I mean, goodness. Even the members of the team, quite a few of the members of the team are users as well. So I mean, that's a foregone conclusion when it was uh, when it was revealed that Lightwave itself was gone. No one was doing anything. No one was even looking at upgrading or updating anything. Um, that really started the wheels to turn. And earlier this year, we managed to get everything together. We got the transfer and started trying to see what we could do. I knew going into it that there was going to be a period of time that, yes, we have said we have it, and that's great, but it's not real yet. It only becomes real when there's a release, and we wanted to make sure that you know I mean, I had said earlier that even if it was just a bug fix, even if it was just patching some things, something to make it real, but we were able to pull some things together that actually made it quite a notable upgrade, uh, with the number of tools, the number of features, the number of other other application being brought into it, um, that it turned out not to be just this one little, hey, we fixed a couple of spelling errors and now it doesn't do this. It actually is a honest to goodness release, and the feedback that we've gotten both on Discord and Facebook, and even personally, I've gotten a lot of direct messages. I've gotten a lot of emails direct to me that really positive, really positive, and the team is just ecstatic. I mean, we're really happy to have before the end of the year done what we've done, and of course we haven't stopped. We're already looking at the first patch. We've got some things that we want to do, and we want to bring in. I know that a lot of the Mac users were disappointed because we only did Windows, but there was a good reason. Um, we have made some strides to overcome that reason and put together something that hopefully very soon that we'll have parity with the Mac and Windows, and then we can move toward even bigger and better things.
Wow, that's amazing. One of the things I'm curious about hearing about is, of course, one of the big things that I've noticed that other people outside the current Lightwave community have been sort of talking a little bit about. I know that I sent an image to you in Discord yesterday from one of those people posting on Facebook that, holy crap, Lightwave actually has procedural geometry nodes. Can you talk a little bit about how that came to be? Was that something that was planned earlier? Like with back when you were under New Tech and VSRT.
It's one of those things that just like I think anyone who works with Lightwave, even as an artist, you're given a task, you're given a uh, you're given something to work on, and as you're moving forward and trying to get that particular task done, you find, oh, wait, I could do this, and so you wind up on a tangent. Maybe that tangent lasts 30 minutes. Maybe that tangent lasts 2 days. But I will say that when things were being put together back when we were with New Tech, there was some periods of time in which a couple of the developers, it's like we get to an end point, and these guys these guys are great. The team that we have is really really amazing, and what they find is when they have any kind of downtime, and I'm talking about downtime even to the point of I'm waiting for the current thing that I'm doing to compile. They're on another system working on something that they had thought of. And there was a point, even back during, the 2020 run up, probably even the 2019, that there were some things that were experimented with that at that particular time was just an experiment. It's just something that, someone cobbled something together and says, hey, look at this, and thought nothing more of it. And when we all came back together and got 2023 underway, he kind of said, I'm just going to, I remember now, I've found my code. I'm going to dust this off and see what I can do with it. And, and seriously, it was like, oh my goodness. And of course, looking around at this, looking around at that, looking around at other packages and seeing, what's everyone really excited about. And, he's like, oh, it wouldn't take me much to do something similar to that. And sure enough, within like, a week, 2 weeks, he had a concept, and it was like, wow. Well, okay, well, could we do this with it? And sure, I mean, and it just snowballed. It was just one of
Oh,
those things. So, I mean, seriously, you could almost describe it as a coding sketch from 4 years ago that was rediscovered, polished up, and presented, and it just went crazy because it was one of those things of, oh, I can do this. Okay, well that's great. If I do that, then I can do this. And there was another node, and then, oh well, if I need in order to do this, I need to have another node. Oh, in order to, well, and okay, so if I wanted to do that, oh, okay, then that's going to need these three nodes, and it just went.
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Uh, Another thing that I was thinking about also for this interview, when it comes to you know the creation of Lightweight 2023, is the fact that you guys got hold of a couple of really important plugins for Lightwave, and I would say the former OD tools and also Turbulence. Can you tell us a little bit how that worked out and how you got that started and actually getting it into Lightwave?
It's one of those things that it you know I'd love to make it, really, really exciting and say, well, there were some clandestine meetings that were held in the back alley of a pub, and some words were exchanged, and some underhanded techniques were employed, and there was an exchange of money that was, untraceable, but seriously, it was one of those things that what we found was there was a number of people, there were a number of companies that when they learned that Lightwave was back and that it was being handled by users. I mean, it was being handled by people who had a history with Lightwave already as artists. that there were a number of friendships, there were a number of you know acquaintances, there were a number of friendly faces that you might have made. You made the connections back when you were an artist, and oh now now you're part of Lightwave Digital. Oh well, hey, I got an idea. Why don't we you know see what we could do as far as it? And really, people were calling us. It wasn't necessarily 100% of okay, we need to flesh out this release. Let's see what we can procure, which is a commonality for old methods of releases. Everyone can point to a number of Lightwave releases that seem to be nothing but acquired plugins. So this is not outside of the realm of Lightwave history. But I think this go around, one thing that made it different was that the communication was reversed on a number of them, where
Hmm.
it's like, hey, I'm looking at doing something different. I'm looking at, I'm going in a different direction. How would you like to buy these? I'm not going to do anything with them. I'm not going to advance it anything. How would you like to take it and take it over? Oh my goodness. Okay, great. And so really it was just, again, it's the community. It's the community of third-party developers. It's the community of larger developers that stepped forward and wanted to be supportive. They wanted to help us out. They wanted to work with us. So I mean, really, it was exciting for us. It really was. It was an exciting time because there was that uh, that stepping up, and that coming to us instead of us having to search everyone out.
Wow, that's great. One of the things I also wonder is, there are some very big plugins that are still being developed by other developers, like for example, Lightwave CAD, for example,
Sure,
Victor.
Victor.
Yeah,
hmm
yeah. Has he been in contact with you guys as well?
We have obviously reached out and contacted a number of folks, especially with the idea of doing something where, okay, everyone remembers Sasquatch Lite, where you had a truncated version of a particular plugin that would ship with Lightwave, that would whet the appetite, and hey, here's an upgrade path to the full version. Um, these are obviously these are a number of things that we would love to do. We have reached out to Victor. Uh, I know that we've also reached out to a number of other folk that have the same kind of deal. They've got a big plugin that they're continuing to do, but we'd like to to reestablish so that any upgrades or any updates of the plugin can be applicable to the current Lightwave code, and even potentially have like a truncated light version that would ship with Lightwave.
Oh, nice.
So no spoilers on that though, eh? So obviously the OD tools in their current format, um, are all of those going to get slowly rolled into Lightwave so that they're a bit more organically implemented? Is that sort of the long term plan?
That is the long term plan. Yes, it is. Even when OD tools came out, even when they came out for past versions of Lightwave, I always took them as these are what should be in Lightwave native. These are missing things, missing functionalities that he stepped up and wrote an absolute plethora of plugins and scripts and things to fill in those gaps. See a need, fill a need. I've absolutely want to take those as a list of let's burn these down and get them native so that eventually everything rolls in.
Oh, actually, I do have one side question. I'm not sure I've seen this answered or not. So, if you are a current Lightwave 2018 buyer, you've already owned that. Do you get access to the OD tools or not?
Oh, no. No, they come with the current release, which is 2023.
Sure, sure. I just wondered whether you were going to make them backwardly available for people who currently owned licenses of Lightwave, because obviously you're
No.
supporting. No, no, tough for them.
Well, they've had how many years to get them?
Sure,
So
sure.
if they had wanted them, they would have had them by now.
True.
I was wondering, how is the coordination between all the developers? How is this process of assembling a new team? Even though you may know each other from here and there, some have worked together before, but assembling a new team and doing so many things in so little time and setting up the business and developing and finding the code, driving with a server in the car, the other while the others are impatiently waiting for news. and how's that process personally and also work-wise? How do you manage all this situation, this rapid evolving situation? How's the mood there?
Well, the mood is fine. And really, it's I think we use the phrase "herding cats" an awful lot. All of the people that are on the team, yes, they are actually old LightWave developers. So we have an existing camaraderie. We have known how we all work from the past. So that makes it a lot easier. Elmar has been absolutely stellar in setting up tasks, keeping everyone on track. We do triage, we do all manner of, trying to get, what's important, what's secondary, what's tertiary. And there was a period of time, and it was lengthy, that yes, we had the code, wonderful. How do we access it? How do we keep control of it? How do we get it to where new people coming onto the team have access to it? How do we organize it? Because all of the old systems, all of the old new tech era things were gone. They were just poof. There
Wow.
is no more. So it was, how do we take it? How do we, straighten it out, comb it, get it organized, get it, to where we can all have access so that everyone can start work. And thankfully, it wasn't as daunting, but it was one of those things that really you have to, just like all of us have done, go into your Lightwave content, into your old past work, pull up a scene you did 5 years ago. Try to remember how you did it, right? Try to remember what's that null? What am I using that null for? Why is that null just called null? Why did I not name things? Why did I not group things? Why did I not color code things? Why all of the things that I've learned in the last 5 years, why wasn't I doing that 5 years ago? Well, because 5 years have passed. So you have a number of people that are getting in there and getting into the code and realizing, right, I was working on this. Maybe I need to remember what I was drinking at the time in order to make sense of what I was working on. So there is that. There is that. And then it's certainly a matter of, we have to reestablish, systems for building, systems for checking. We got to reestablish a testing team. We've got to reestablish, and of course, let's factor into all of that. We need to get the website up. We need to get the domain transferred over. We need to get our emails set back up. So there was if there was a team, if you could call it a team working on getting the code going, there was a secondary team getting the e-commerce, the website, the everything else to come back up. I mean, we're still, we are still, and I will say this out loud here in this special, Discord will be going away. It is not intended, it has not been meant to last as long as it has, but it's had to because of certain things that still aren't in place yet. When we get a functioning forum, and I mean a true functioning forum, that's when I see Discord going away. Because really, I still have people discovering the Discord server. Oh goodness, I didn't realize that this is where all of the communication was being done. Well, it was because that's what we had to set up in a hurry. But as we've moved into our new house and we're getting the shades and the walls painted and all the furniture adjusted, we'll start getting everything, the way it should be. And that is to say that the forum that we have on the website, we all know is not what we really want. And so we're still looking at new, at how to do that and when to do that. I don't see that this year. I see that maybe in January, February. But so we've got, a number of teams that are trying to get everything organized and set up, and all of the kinks and all of the tangles worked out. It's fun being a startup.
Yeah, I mean, sorry that I said I would take a step back, but now when you talk about that stuff,
It's still you. He's going to ask you about the Amiga.
no.
Where is the port to Amiga? Forget about Linux, forget about Mac. Where's the Amiga port now that it's in our hands, the users?
I've already been asked that.
The true believers.
Yeah, but
really. by Cageman, that's right.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry, go ahead, mate.
Deuce, you talked about the setup of the new website, and that also included databases with users.
Yes.
And we had a little talk yesterday, and you mentioned a very funny story about users using multiple emails, and can you tell that story? It's fun. Yeah, I'm making quotation marks in the air right now. But yeah.
Yes, absolutely, and it's a revisit too because it used to happen, but it was so what we essentially had was we had multiple databases. We had database that was pre-Cleverbridge. We had a database that was Cleverbridge. We had a database that was post-Cleverbridge. Then we had a database that was created when we took over the beginning of this year. And then we had a database of after we took over and got a few things sorted. So we had essentially 5 databases of users that we had to try to line up and untangle. And you factor in that there was a number of people that had just created an account to get a trial version. You had a number of people that just created an account so that they could go onto the forum. They never purchased anything. So we looked at it as this is a perfect time to clean up everything, start fresh. And as a consequence, there was a number of people that when they purchased, they didn't remember that they had a different email when they created, when they purchased their upgrade. And then those same people maybe, when they went to look for their upgrade, not only forgot the original account email that they used, but they forgot the email account that they purchased with in the beginning of the year. So they created yet another email account and then wondered where all their licenses were. And it's like, so, okay, what is our server, which is a brand new server, supposed to recognize you by your keystrokes? oh, this tickles like, oh, this must be Frank. Frank, hey, yeah, your accounts are over here and all your serials are over there. Really? So, having to go through and find, this to that to the other, merge them all together, get all the dongles straight. That's what I've been going through for the last 2 weeks. Happy to say, all of it's straight. Everyone who is having that issue is past that issue. Primarily, people noticed it when they tried to add their third-party plugins, and it's like, wait a minute, this isn't working. Why is this not working? Oh, dongle ID changed for whatever reason, because the upgrade or your account didn't have anything, so it just created a new serial, a new dongle for you, because it didn't know who you were when you created this. So yeah, it was. But the whole past thing of, I don't remember how I logged into your system, so I'll just create a new one and expect all of my old stuff to be in the new account. How does that supposed to work?
Mm.
Yeah, that's
My
a
other
funny story, man.
my other favorite is when people will they'll email and say, I don't remember my username. It's like, okay, well, let me look here, David Blink. Okay, so your username is David Blink. Are you really trying to tell me that you never thought to use your own name as a try? Really? That would have been the first thing that I would have tried. But it happens. It happens.
Oh God, I'm actually I'm actually stitches here right now. It's so funny. I mean,
That's absolutely brilliant. Sorry.
I mean, to be fair, when we were buying it, the new license, the 2023, it was on a totally alien system, so I can understand that people are going to have different accounts on that
Absolutely.
because it's brand new.
Yeah.
true.
And I was a victim of that. It took a while because I was with everybody else, and I tried to not bitch and directly contact you, more than 10 times, to say, "Where's my license? Why isn't it there?" But I can appreciate that. That must have been a huge amount of work to try and get that all aligned together. So yeah.
It was, but thankfully, and the one thing that kept me going through all of that was the knowledge that this is the one speed bump. We get over this. From
Yeah.
here on, there shouldn't be any of this anymore, unless people just forget their emails.
Yeah. or their names.
Or
Yeah.
their names, yeah.
I've forgotten who I am,
in
Deuce.
a way.
I've forgotten who I am, Deuce. Can you tell me what my login is, please? I don't know what my
That-
email is.
always reminds me of that that one joke where a guy, a drunk calls up. He's trying to find his flight number, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, operator, would you trace this call and tell me where I am?" It's like, I don't remember my name. Can you help me?
Oh my God. You guys have had some bumps here and there in the road, and you've already talked about some of them, like the getting the website up and running and other things. Are there any other stuff that you can sort of talk openly about that was where you thought that we have this in our hands, but then it sort of wasn't?
Oh gosh, I mean, any given day you'd run into something, but thankfully, the team we've got, the process that we have, the solutions that we have, including the website, and I mean even for all of the whatever, I will say that what we currently have is the most flexible system that I've dealt with. When I was working, when we were new tech, and just doing this, 10, 15 years ago, if something came up, it was going to be Oh, the old joke of 6 developers, 2 weeks to fix.
Oh,
Whereas now, with the system that we have in place, if I need to create a new product, if I need to add a new product, if I need to change a page around or move things here or there, it's minutes. Minutes, and we can create and adjust and work around issues. And I think that's testimony to, again, going into things knowing that this is a perfect opportunity to start things from a fresh standpoint. Let's, you know, let's not reinvent the wheel, but let's just start off with a better wheel.
yeah, true. And now I was thinking about another thing. We haven't actually talked about ChronoSculpt. We have just been talking about LightWave 2023, but ChronoSculpt is actually being bundled with this.
Yes.
Has it been bundled yet, or?
Well, and this is where you get into the definition of bundled. Currently, if you download the 2023, you get ChronoSculpt installer comes down with it. Now, this was done again as a somewhat last minute, last minute pack in. We had wanted to include ChronoSculpt for a while, but we have there are things that we want to do. There are things that we want to improve, and getting ChronoSculpt out to folk give us a bit of feedback on how many people actually are wanting it, needing it, using it, etc. There are some things that we immediately want to address, which is it was done obviously back at the time before we had 4K monitors, so the text is a little small on larger monitors or higher resolution monitors. It still is branded new tech. It is still going into the new tech directory. I'd like to change the licensing to where it would use the same exact, license key as LightWave, so you wouldn't have multiple. Things of this nature, and I see it happening sooner than later. But just getting it out there and getting it into the hands of folk is what we wanted to do initially. We currently have a process in mind to get ChronoSculpt 102 into people's hands. And I've already experimented and had a good success with how to generate the keys so that everyone can get it and get it working. Again, this is going to, be a little bit more streamlined as we get probably into the new year.
Yeah.
A lot of things too that I'll go ahead and make mention because this is kind of in the same vein. A lot of people have been asking about content, not only content for ChronoSculpt, but content for LightWave itself. We have in the works the asset store that will be on the website. And this is where actually I'm wanting to put this stuff. I'm wanting to put it into the asset store because that's where it really belongs.
Mm.
So when that is able to be rolled out, you'll start to see things like this, more than likely I'll put the ChronoSculpt update there. For download, I'll put content for 2023, content for ChronoSculpt and the like would go into the asset store. I know that there's other people that have things like IES like collections and things that we want to put in there too.
Oh yeah.
It's just again getting things to the proper timing and proper functionality to make it right.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. NevronMotion. Do you guys see any future with that one?
For those that don't know what NevronMotion is, NevronMotion was a plugin that was created for LightWave that primarily the main use for it was retargeting motion capture files. The thing was, the biggest request was to allow the use of other rigs, maybe a user created rig or a rig that you downloaded from somewhere else, NevronMotion was used to retarget to a rig created by Genoma that was based off of, a rig that was created from Motion Builder. As a secondary thing, it used the Kinect camera from Microsoft to do a type of motion capture. The biggest request, obviously, was I want to use my own rig. I don't want to use the rig that Genoma created. And I want to be able to retarget from whatever I want to whatever I want. So, NevronMotion itself, if you look at it and say, well, you can't buy the Kinect camera anymore unless you get it on eBay because it's not made anymore. I've got 3 that are under at least an inch of dust. But the thing is that you can't get it anymore. So if you take away that, then it's just a motion capture retargeting, which is what it was initially made for. So if we want to make it where you could retarget from anything to anything, well, that's a recreation of the tool. So I really don't see NevronMotion as it stands being bundled or moving forward or whatever. We will just look at the need for a motion capture retargeting system and put a new one into LightWave.
Okay, that makes sense.
Since the new plugin acquisitions and the whole work ahead, do you have any how do you provision for the overhead that brings? Because one thing the users are concerned sometimes is that with an acquisition, not just in LightWave, I mean in general in 3D software, when a company absorbs or integrates a plugin, then it gets no further development because then you have to find the code. How does it work? It's made by the third party, and so are there provisions or plans to how to deal with this overhead, just for the tranquility and sake of our lovely audience? I mean, I'm confident that you'll do a fine job, but
well, I will say, let's just take the big one, turbulence. We already have in work to bring it forward from using the legacy volumetrics to using the new volumetric engine. We have a number of folk on our team that are skilled with volumetrics. So it's really, and again, it's one of those things, the team members, we all know that there is that stigma of, well, you buy a plugin, you integrate it, and then it languishes. We're not wanting to do that. We're definitely not wanting to do that. We have a number of people already looking at how to advance it, how to take it from turbulence, how to work it such that maybe we could get fluids out of it. How can we increase and how can we expand it? So it is one of those things that the acquisitions were done in such a way that we could get help. We could get some advanced, some work where we could, do a transition, and that we have a number of people that would be able to pick up the ball and run with it, after the fact. So we're not wanting to do the acquisition, of old. We are wanting to increase it. We are wanting to move it forward.
Oh, cool. I do know that there is a curiosity among people to know how many developers do you have currently?
More than one, less than 50.
It's legit.
we didn't need that specificity, but
it's one of those
that's a bit too
things
specific for LightWavers.
yeah,
it's one of those things that, I mean, it is, granted, we're still a startup. We are working, by any stretch, a skeleton crew.
Yep.
We've got a number, even on other aspects, we have, people wearing two or three hats, in order just to keep it together. We're trying to get, we're trying to get reestablished. We're trying to get it, back to a point where, that we have some funding coming in that we can expand, that we can, get more people. And it's hard because, when LightWave was dark for 3.5, almost 4 years.
Yep.
And and that kind of dovetails in to a discussion that I'd actually had with a number of folk on our team, that we've heard from a number of people that, oh, well, you need to do more marketing. You need to really, you need to do more marketing nowadays. But marketing nowadays is really different than the marketing that you would do, say, 15 years ago, because everything is online. So it's not like we're going to take out and do a national commercial on any of the major networks to say, "Hey, LightWave is back." It's not that we're going to take out, any kind of, things like of this. So how do you reach people is by penetrating their circle of interest that they have already established online. If you're not following someone, maybe, that is following LightWave, then you might not get any of the overspray, we'll say, from them seeing something that we put out. And if you don't have any contact with anybody that has a follow on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, any of these, then you're not ever going to see it. If you were one of those people that, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago said, you know what, I'm done unfollowing, unsubscribing, I'm going here, then it is almost impossible to reestablish a connection with you. So it comes from finding those avenues, finding those I hate the term myself because I guess I'm of a generation, but I don't like, influencer. That just sounds so made up. But anyway, if you've got to find those people and get them to talk about it so that their circle of influence starts to do, again, that overspray to other people, and you get word. Again, it's one of those things. It's like the one that you sent me that was, oh, I just discovered here 3 days ago that LightWave was acquired and has a release. Really? Well, you must not be following,
Yeah.
you might be 2 or 3 people out of the circle,
Yep.
So we're doing everything we can. There have been a number of posts on YouTube, posts on Facebook, that reach some of those people, but it's hard. It's really hard because it is, like I say, it's not like you can take out and do a national commercial, because that would be just a waste of money. But it is one of those things that, as time moves forward, as time goes on, we will again try to. I don't see necessarily having booths at at conventions, but we might have people walking around the floor, maybe with a, I don't know, a banner that they carry, like an old squire of old or something. Who knows? I know that a number of people have really liked the idea. I don't know if we'll be able to do it. I know we'll be able to do it, but I don't know when we'll be able to do it. And that's to have user events.
Yep.
So if you were doing something at SIGGRAPH or at NAB, or, well, you can't do it at E3 anymore because it's gone.
Yep.
But if you, around the timing of SIGGRAPH or NAB, we had like an event at a close hotel or a close venue that was a LightWave user event, a LightWave user party, like we used to have. that could be a way to penetrate and punch through some of these circles of influences that we've lost. But yeah, it's again, you just have to realize that we're still functioning as a startup. I know that I would love to, and again, it's one of those things too that I'd love to put out a roster of here's all the people on the development because they're all so wonderful. But again, it's one of those things that that opens them up to to things that they don't want to be exposed to.
Yep.
It's hard enough sometimes having the core testers have to have access directly to the developers because that can get you sidetracked. That can get you off on those tangents, and you don't get your job that you're tasked with doing complete. But hey, you might find something that 2 or 3 years down the road might be that new feature. But it's difficult. It is.
Yeah, I mean, I think even testers have their own little fiefdoms, I find, and I would really like you to do this thing, but we do have to step back and say, like, but it's everybody else is also important, and there are certain core things within the application that definitely need handling.
Oh sure, and there always will be. It's one of those things that I've often joked, well, why is this the way it is? Well, because if you fixed it, it would break something else, and that something else is what people use to make their livelihood. Well, so then how do we fix this? Well, we're going to have to introduce another bug, So it's now I will say, we all know that it's venerable code. It's been around for a long time. And everyone who steps into it wants to start rewriting. But there's a time and a place for that. And currently, it's not right now. So with all that being said, you get enough people in there and start seeing the discrepancies and start seeing the optimizations that could be done. Things will increase, things will improve. It might not come as fast as everyone wants, but we're all dedicated to making LightWave better. And the thing that I jokingly have to remind people when a build comes out or when a version is released, I have to say, guys, this is not the last version of LightWave. There will be more. There will be patches. There will be fixes. There will be new features. There will be new, so don't lament that your particular favorite bug didn't get addressed in this release. We're working through it just like I was working through all the people who had 15 emails. We're working through everything. We'll get there.
Yeah, I think Lewis at one point he will get that slide tool in modular at some point.
One day.
Probably.
I have already shown that to a number of people, and they're like, why hasn't this actually? That's not that difficult. So I that might happen sooner than later, and I'm really going to have to put Lewis under under a watch to make sure that he doesn't have a coronary or some kind of episode when that does finally get in there.
Yeah, make it too excited. To be fair, actually, to be done, there's a lot of things like that though, and I hate to say it, but sometimes it happens in the past where it did eventually arrive, and people are like, oh, but it didn't do this thing that I wanted, and it's like, oh, so is that going to get fixed? And it never gets fixed, and you're like, so you've now got a new tool which no one uses because it doesn't do all the things that it should have done in the first place.
All of the things, right?
Yeah.
I remember, and it was one of my favorite things too to point out. You remember before LightWave had radiosity, everyone was like, if LightWave doesn't have radiosity, it's going to fall behind. I'm tired of faking radiosity. I need to be able to have real radiosity in LightWave. Okay, well look, here's a new version, has radiosity. And I was like, great, LightWave has radiosity now. Wow, that renders slow. I'm going to go back to faking it.
Yeah, that's actually true. So I want to sort of move on to talking a little bit about the features. The text tool in layout is absolutely amazing to me. How did that come about?
Well, that's actually a funny story in one sense of the word, because it is one of those things. It's an area that LightWave has never really touched, which is motion graphics. It's one of those areas that is very niche. It's very specific, but there's a particular tool set that people want to have, and having to create text in Modeler, then do things to it, break it up, switch it out, bring it into layout, and animate with it, and then your client say, "That's great, but you misspelled this name."
Oh yeah.
Crap. Okay. Crap. I went by your email. You misspelled it when you sent it to me, but that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. So you have to go back and go through the process. So there was a point where we had looked at, and it was even back for a 2020 release, that we had looked at having a text tool directly in layout. And it doesn't take long for anyone who does any kind of work with fonts to realize that fonts, they work great for 2D and print, but they suck when you're trying to create something for 3D geometry, because they can get away with all kinds of hideous work. And you want to talk about topography. You got penetrating points. You've got certain areas that's a smooth shape that might have 3 points up here, 50 points right here, and then 3, and it's like, good grief. So you run into this real quick. And so with what was done for the text tool, this really is considered to be essentially a version 1. It got it in there. It got some things that initially, we didn't. There were a lot of bits and pieces that weren't there, and the decision was made not to release it in 2020. And then, well, the walls came crumbling down. So when Text Tool wanted to get into 2023, we went back and revisited some of the things, like, okay, I need to be able to make multiple lines. I need to be able to do, more adjustments, more things. And of course, though, again, the rearing of the ugly head of, Lord, these are ugly for creating initial geometry. We're working on a number of applications and a number of places where we could do a different methodology. We could do a different type of, how to take that shape and make it into something that was a little bit more friendly for 3D. And I will say that even back during the 2020 run, there were a couple of experiments done that took fonts into VDB shapes and allowed them to be able to be created into geometry that way. Now, I'm not saying that we didn't rediscover that code, but it is one of those things that the internet never forgets, right? Well, neither does code bases when you back it up. So I'm just saying that there are a number of things that we are looking at, because it is one of those things that you never know, you never realize how a larger group of people are going to react to a particular tool or a feature. You might have something that you have worked really hard on, and been really proud about it, and you put it out there, and people are like, eh. And and at that same time, that one thing that you worked 5 minutes on, they rave about for the next 3 weeks. And it's like, but I thought that, okay, point taken. But the text tool has really taken, it's gotten some traction. So it is one of those things that we know the limitations of it. We know that, you take that horrible profile that the font makers use, and then you try to bevel it. It's really quick for all kinds of things to that'll point out those multiple points real quick. And where you've got a crossover where instead of it just coming to the edge, it actually goes inside. It's like, where are these points coming from? What's that all about? So it is one of those things that we're excited about it, actually, because it is, in one sense of the word, it is a start toward trying to put together a bit of motion graphics tool set.
Yeah.
You can't do motion graphics if you can't create and fly around text. And we can fly around text like crazy. That's no problem. We can fly around text. It's the creating of the text and making it where you can correct a spelling error or change the name of something because, oh, this other client liked that and their name is a little different. Well, great. I'll just load up that scene, change the text, and hit render. And, I'm off to the races again. So it's great. I'm excited about it. And I'm excited too about some of the things that we've been discussing about how to improve it.
Yeah.
It was mentioned that they might try and integrate the text tool as a geometry node itself. And
Absolutely.
it occurred to me that it's not simple by any means, but a simple fix,
No.
he says, would be then having a node that remeshes the geometry, which might then solve our issues with wonky fonts. So yeah, you have a geometry node where you input the text, you then do a remesh, then you start doing the bevels and all of those types of things. And I know that's not simple, but that would be wonderful because then you could use that on all sorts of other imports of curved objects and all sorts, really.
One of the other things that dovetails into that is the wish to be able to deal with SVN. I think that's right.
SVG.
And SVG.
SVG.
Yeah, to deal with
I
SVG
love my
format.
I use those all the time. I love SVGs.
And and how about an Illustrator format that's a little greater than 8?
I mean, to be honest, with SVGs, I'm not even sure that it's properly versioned. Like, I'm pretty sure it's just been a standard, like, ever since it came out. That's it. It's kind of baked, isn't it? That would be a really good one to be able to just take, because most graphic software will export an SVG curve and bring that in. That'd be fantastic.
The quality of life feature thing when it comes to nodes. What inspired you guys to make that change?
Being a user. I mean, seriously.
Oh yeah. But did you guys look at any other software, sort of?
Oh, you have to. There's a number of things, in LightWave 2023 that you can see that we took an inspiration from other applications. You have to, because if you decide I want to add this, well, how does someone else do it? Because you might just have that. I know what I want to do, but I don't know how a user would want to do it. And if some other application has it, then you can look and see how that application does it. Then look in their forums and see if anyone's bitching about it. And then then you're like, okay, so this works, but they don't like this, so we'll make ours like this. And the the quality of life stuff, absolute, just brilliant, just brilliant. Anyone who does any work in LightWave for any given time is going to hit one or more of those quality of life things every single time they sit down at LightWave, without a doubt. Anyone who does anything where I'm forever setting up this node flow. This is my favorite way to do a surface. Hey, make that into a preset. Assign that preset to a hotkey.
Yeah.
Holy cow! Have I just oh my god! You just drop the thing in, hit your hotkey, boom, there it is. You grab your texture file, you drop it in, you say it's an image, you hook it up, and you're done. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And then being able to color code, being able to say, well, okay, I know that I'm working with a team, and I know that I'm working with someone that I don't really trust, so I'm going to mark everything red that you should not touch, and only the green ones are the ones that you should touch. And so you just you color code them that way. Or again, it's one of those things where I've created this surface and I love it. This is so great. But oh my gosh, if I look back at this in 4 years, I'm never going to remember how the hell I did it. So I'm going to set it up. And so this color is my base color. These colors are my modifications. These are my math, and that way I can, try to remember for myself how the hell I did it. I mean, absolutely. The quality of life stuff. And I've even said this. I've said this for years, that we could do nothing but a quality of life release and people would flip out, because
Yeah.
it is just one of those things that when you are a user and you and you're using LightWave every day for 16 hours a day, you know those points where okay, let's drop anchor because this is where it's going to take me 10 minutes to set this up. And if I can take that 10-minute setup thing and turn it into a preset or turn it into a hotkey, oh, you got to be kidding me. All of a sudden, it'll feel like a completely new program.
Yeah. I mean, it's like CTRL+Space.
Yes.
Yeah. It's.
Oh,
I
the
mean,
flat menu.
yeah. That one was amazing.
That's how I use Rhino like crazy. I can't. I don't use the menus in Rhino. I use the search to find my tool, because it is one of those things where you get in there and you're like, okay, so I need to move this. Move. There we go. I need to bevel this. I need to bevel this edge. Edge bevel. There it is. And you just. I mean, I love the flat menu.
Yeah.
I want to add a turbulence TURB. There it is. I need to add a crack hierarchy. I'm looking for the vector. Vector. There it is. It's just great. I mean, it's so fast to find things. And you wanted to talk about talking about the Pro Tools. That is the rebrand. There's too many. I use the flat menu to find them.
500 of them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's way too many. Yeah, and I really hope that it's at the that not only are they going to be properly integrated, but they disappear
Yes.
in the, if you know what I'm saying, like they'll just be in the background in the software, just making it easier without having to. What's the name of that weird tool?
Right.
But in episode 3, when you kindly gave us your interview, talking about your career and your experience with LightWave and I remember a touching point that you shared when you realized that you've been sort of depressed or sad because the whole experience went down, and you missed the community and working for this software and the team and the creative endeavors that comes with it. And now that the team is built again, and you're working with it again, that you have all the same pains and and I imagine the same happy moments. I wanted to ask you, how do you feel?
Well, it is funny, because it is that there's so much that would be easily described as, oh, pain in my side, thorn in my side. But it's funny how, you miss it. You miss that thorn, you miss that pain when it goes away, and it is one of those things because, um, and I'll say it too that, I've had some help in, catching up with some of the things that were the blended databases and the things, and one of the guys helping me, he was like, have you gotten any of these requests for free LightWave? And I said, oh my gosh, which one which one did you get? And he's like, what do you mean? And I said, oh, 15 years ago I threatened to start writing a coffee table book of all the different reasons that people wanted to have free LightWave. And he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah. Have you gotten the my therapist has said that I need to focus more, and LightWave would be a better way for me to focus, so I need free LightWave. And he's like, actually, yeah, I did. There was a guy who was going to send me a note from his doctor. I'm like, yeah. Have you gotten the one where I'm going to be in hospital for the next 7 months, and I need to have free LightWave with me so that I can have something to do while I'm in the hospital bed? Yeah, I have. And I'm like, uh-huh. How about the one where I was in an accident, lost my eye, lost my leg, lost my right hand. My liver is bisected. I've got two fused spinal column, and I need, because of that. Oh, and I'm a veteran of foreign wars, so I need to have a free copy of LightWave. He's like, "Oh my god!" And it's that kind of thing that it comes back, and it warms my heart because it's like, I remember this. This is so wonderful, and it does. I feel a lot better. I do. I feel a lot better. And there are things too. We'll go ahead and make sure that this gets made mention that we are doing a different methodology for educational. Educational licenses will be a 30-pound processing fee one time for a university or whatever. One time fee. Essentially, that just allows us to do the paperwork and get everything, make sure that they are who they say they are, and then from that point on, all educational licenses are free. If you're a student,
Wow.
you can get a free license of LightWave. That, I believe what we're going to be doing is 6-month licenses, and again, proof of status, and you can get a free license.
That's super cool. And is that actually full license? So it's not
Yes.
crippled?
It is not crippled at all. Free total license, total thing, even with a dongle ID, so you could actually, use third party with it.
Oh,
Yes.
Sweet.
that's really good.
It's been very much needed. Very much needed. I think
The reaction from the educational community has been quite positive.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Especially when we explained to them that wasn't 30 pounds a license, that was 30 pounds one time. That's
Yeah.
it.
For institution.
So just imagine that school has, let's say, 200 people that is going to learn LightWave. They will get 200 licenses.
Correct.
That's amazing. Wow, what a change.
Yes.
That's, yeah, I'm blown away right now.
And again, that's one of the. It's on the website. It's on the website. You can look it up under the educational. But it's things like that that also have made me happy about coming back. You know, because it is one of those things that there's a number of decisions that were made that, you know, new team, new concept, new everything. I think really we're doing the right thing on a number of fronts, and again, that makes you happy.
And I think you're quite engaged, the team in Discord for the moment. So that's also quite striking, coming from past experiences. The openness and the engagement, the continuous. It's not. It wasn't a fluke of a few days and then silence. It's going on. You're engaged, and I've seen Elmar or Andrew Bishop and more continuously being present. And yeah,
It's one of those things that, again, it's because we're users, you know. And I have always felt that the more honest and open you can be to a customer base, the better. I mean,
Yep.
people can smell a lie, especially if there's a group. You know, you might be able to fake out one person, but you're not going to be able to fake out 50. And it's just better business. Be open. This is what we're doing. This is why we're doing what we're doing. And you know, we've asked a number of people. We've asked a lot of people to trust us, and we can't break that trust.
What feature do each of us think is the best feature of 2023?
okay. For me, it's the inclusion of Octane, because for my work, I need the speed. The quality of LightWave render is fine to me, but in my tight deadlines, and it's difficult. It's difficult to make it there with corrections and feedback, and so Octane being included, having the plugin developed by you, it's reassuring also. It's so I know that the connection it's not going to get lost in the way, because you'll take care of it. That's for me the number one, the mode. I love I love all you are doing, while the real thing, which is the Linux version, of course, arrives. But I love that you take the step to talk with them and implement the plugin. That's fantastic news to me.
Okay, I can go next, and that would be the Pro Tools. LightWave has been, I mean, with those tools together with LightWave, have been able to solve a bunch of difficult problems for the game that we're currently working on, and that entailed preparing huge exports from the Snowdrop engine. Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about tens of thousands of objects being exported, and then combine them into a single mesh, so that I could then take that mesh into either Maya or Motion Builder, so that the scene graph is as easy for them to use. And a busy scene graph makes frame rate very low. If you have a single transform, even if it's like 40 million polygons, it's still you still get, you know, a decent frame rate for an animator. I mean, real time. So yeah, the Pro Tools for me.
I guess it's me next. It's very green, and there's a lot of things it needs finishing or moving forward, but the geometry nodes are such a huge thing. And I'll be honest, I haven't even had a chance to play with them properly. And I'm already aware. You know, you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to hit that wall immediately. It's a shame. And at I can see the huge potential, and I think going forward, that's going to be a major thing, like it is, because it's a major thing in Blender right now. It's a major thing in Houdini. It always was, really. I mean, geometry tools are pretty much, that's Houdini's bread and butter. And I think that especially because a lot of lightwavers are always those kind of like, they're in that prosumer level of skill set, because if we could maybe move on to Houdini, we might have done, but we're small teams. That's where Lightwave's kind of niche market is just small teams, and we just don't have time to learn Houdini. It's so much effort, so big. But having that power leveraged in Lightwave, I think that's going to be a major thing coming up. It's just a little bit limited still.
Well, for me, I've already been using the Geo tools for the splines for doing hoses and things and power cords on robots, robotic arms and the like, because it's just, I create some nulls that are the anchor points for the points on the spline, and then I just animate the arm, and the spline just goes along for the ride. It does exactly what it needs to do. I love the heck out of it. So definitely the Geo, but by the same token, I have to say the quality of life stuff, the being able to drop images in bulk into a node editor graph, and seeing all the graphs there on the right hand side, to just be able to navigate around so quickly, to go back and forth between surfaces, select a group, copy, go to another surface, paste, without having to drop out and back and out and back, just to move around as one thing. There's so much, so much in it that it is one of those things where a lot of it will be taken for granted. I think it'll be telling when someone will do something in, say, 2023, and they'll hit a bug, they'll hit a wall, they'll hit an issue, and they're like, crap, I got to go back to 2020 or 2019 to finish out this job. They'll do it and realize, oh, I can't do, oh no. And so when they hit that level of discovery, that's gonna be telling.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's the little things that you just, I can't do that. Really?
Yeah.
Like, really? We're in a modern app and it doesn't have this, and now it does.
So many people, I had to go back to 2015 and I lost the flat menu. It's like, yeah, because it just becomes part of your workflow. You just get so comfortable with it, and then you go back to a different version and you don't have that, and you realize, oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah, it gets absorbed immediately.
Yes.
The quality of life improvements, once you use them once, then okay, yeah, of course, oh, that's great, and then you take it for granted forever and ever.
Yeah.
It's like it was always there. You always been working like this. Yeah, it's when it makes natural sense in a way, as it were.
So I'm still staying with 2020 for now, but I mean, the QL stuff that you guys showed off with nodes in particular. I mean, if I start to use that, I can't go back to 2020. And I'm afraid, I'm afraid of being in that situation. When time is pressing.
Don't do this to me.
Wait, you mean I can't just select these nodes and turn them into a compound?
Yeah.
What?
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Come on, guys, don't do this to me. No.
How long did you have? Is it 4 months of coding?
4 months.
4 months.
Yeah, 4 months.
With a limited skeleton crew.
Yes.
I mean, that's amazing.
That's why, and that's one of the things that I'd like to try to point out and try to get folk to understand. Is like, if we can get people behind it, if we can get people to upgrade, if we can get the sales going, then we can, obviously we can add hands, we can add things, and hey, give us a year and see what happens.
Oh yeah.
Granted, we are not going to go dark for a year. and we can't. I mean, it's one of those things that we have a schedule that we want to try to keep. We're wanting to get a 2023.0.1 release out, because there's some issues, and we want to get the Mac parity. By the same token, we're still moving forward with the Apple Silicon, and that wants to be earlier, sooner than later. But that turned into too big of a chunk, too big of a bite, and we just had to back up. We had to back off a little bit and redirect just a little bit, and we have done that. We are real close to having a 2023.0.1 in for testing. Again, you look at the time. It's almost Christmas. It's almost Christmas time, and you can't get anything done between Christmas time and New Year's because some people have families. People, they I don't know who these people are. I think they're weird, but
I've heard of some, but
yeah,
come on.
and this other word I've vacate. I don't know. I don't know how to. It's a weird. I'm not familiar with it, but enough people seem to take those. But again, we just keep pushing forward, keep trying to improve the things that we know we need to improve. We try to respond to the user feedback. We try to everything is a constant triage. If something pops up that's just like, oh goodness, well, we're going to have to jump on that sooner than later. But there are some things that we want to get done, and I can see a 2023.0.1 probably early January, and I think that'll work out just fine.
Cool.
Then we can
Cool.
try to move on to bigger and better things like getting Apple Silicon, and maybe other things as we move forward.
Cool.
Everyone is thinking about the Linux version. When do you think
Sure.
when do you think that you would maybe have a version for beta testing of that? Or
the thing about it is that what we've discovered is that the work in order to do Apple Silicon revealed the potential for a sidestep to Linux.
okay.
So it is one of those things, though, that Linux brings with it its own headaches and its own it's not like Windows or Macintosh where you can say, look, if you're running Windows, you're good. If you're running Mac OS, you're good. If you say, hey, we've got a Linux distribution, great. Which of the 15 or 20 distributions do you support? Oh crap. Then it's well, what are the differences between them? Which one is more used? Which one is used more? Which one is used in studios? Which one is used? And is the studio version, is the studio Linux the same ones that little Johnny down the street is running on his distribution on his box? No. Well, okay. What's he using? Why? And it might turn out to be one of those things that a Linux thing could potentially be, and I hate saying this, but it could be more trouble than it's worth, because it is one of those things that years ago, the developer for Maya told me directly. He's like, look, worst decision we ever made was supporting Linux. Because it sapped away all their developer time. It took away all their effort and everything to trying to support so many different platforms or so many different distributions on one platform. So we really have to approach it from a controlled a controlled approach and make it smart. Because, see, we did do a distribution of Linux version of ScreamerNet back in LightWave 8, and 3 people downloaded it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And we were like, wow,
Well, we had Linux versions of Core as well.
True, but that was a completely new. No, that was a totally new program that wasn't taking LightWave.
Yep.
The thing about it is too is that there are folk that are running LightWave under Wine, but where you get into the hiccup is the support of the dongle, the software key, the software license. That's not Linux compatible. So you're kind of limited on what you can do with LightWave under Wine. We had looked at the potential of, well, what would it take to just make what we've got more Wine compatible? And is that a shorter distance? So there's options. There's things that we need to investigate, things we need to discover. Everyone keeps throwing back at us what is it? It's the Hollywood software compatibility chart or something that
the VFX standard.
The VFX something I can't remember the name of it, but I know the gist of it. Essentially, it's this is what the studios are using, and I can completely understand why studios are using Linux. It's because of the price of getting a workstation up and running. I mean, if you are oh, hey, I need to put together 250 workstations for artists to work on this next Jurassic Park movie, and Windows is going to charge me $150 a seat. Oh, criminy. That's a lot of money in just operating system. So yeah, let's look at something free like Linux. Well, that makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. But it's, again, it's okay, so we're going to go with a Linux distribution. Which one?
Pancake Linux with its own packaging, delivery.
Right. I mean, it opens a whole new level of headache. Let's just put it that way. But
why don't you just like make your own version of Linux, and then that saves the problem?
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, everybody does. So
that's that whole what is it, XCKD cartoon? It's like we need a universal format to handle all the stuff. Well, there's already 15. No, we need a universal format to handle everything. Great. Now we have 16 universal formats. Yeah.
I mean, it's been great having you on, Deuce. We have been talking way over time now. It's 1.5 hours instead of 1 hour. Just so you know.
We do.
It's our trademark. What can I say?
You've been very patient with us, Deuce. It's been absolutely lovely having you again.
Thank you very much for joining us again. We'll have to get you back in again because you love us so much, obviously.
So, any closing words from anyone?
What I would want to say, what I would really want to say, is to all of the LightWavers, past, present, and future. Thank you for your support. Thank you for everything that you guys have said and done, and been patient with us as we overcame all of the obstacles that were either put in place by other people or other situations. We're overcoming them. Thank you for your patience. I hope everyone has a safe and happy holiday season, and see you next year.
Thank you for listening on LightWave Digest Christmas 2023 special. We wish you happy holidays, and we hope to see you next year. Be sure to tune in next time so that you don't miss out on all the goodies we've got for you. In the meantime, if you have any news stories you'd like us to know about, you can reach us in the comment section or send an email to lightwavedigest@gmail.com with the word news in the subject line. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, subscribe, share and comment. Your engagement is really important to us, so thanks in advance for your support. So until next month, always light the wave.